Hello everyone, you're welcome back to my YouTube channel. In case this is your first time here, kindly like, share, comment, and of course stay tuned for more interesting packages on theory of music. The goal of this channel is to bring to you quality online music theory lessons, and I try as much as possible to make the lessons interactive. Now let's get into it. Today our topic will be on intervals. In the class, our inquiries will be on the following questions. Interval or length. How would you describe the musical intervals? What are the possibilities in intervals? What is the concept of the melodic and harmonic intervals? And how would you explain the specificity in the intervals? Alright. How would you describe the intervals? In the sciences, length is the distance between point A and point B, but musically we don't use the word length but intervals, so we make use of interval when you're dealing with anything that has to do with pitch or the relationship between one pitch and the other. So an interval is the distance between any two pitches. You can also describe interval as the relationship between any two pitches. Now, interval in music can be viewed through the lens of how the two pitches are sounded, whether they are sounded successively or simultaneously. Alright, this is what I mean. Successively, if they are sounding after one another, or simultaneously. If they are sounding at the same time, we're going to discuss a detailed explanation of them in this class. Intervals can be identified by the size between the pitches. The size could be unison, third, fifth. It could be a simple or compound intervals. In the sciences, you measure length in centimeter or meter as the case may be, but musically we measure the intervals by the number of notes that exist between the first pitch and the second pitch. We also want to talk about the quality of the interval. Is it a major interval? Is it a minor interval? Is it a perfect interval, diminished interval, and so on and so forth. So we're going to be talking about them in this class. Categories of intervals. Intervals can broadly be explained in the following categories. The first one, we have the function-based intervals, we have the size-based intervals, and the quality-based intervals. Function-based intervals. You say intervals can be identified in a piece of music by the role they played in the music, and this can be checked through the melody or the harmony of the music. Previously, we discussed melody as a group of notes that move in succession. You try to describe the relationship between each pitch that make up the melody. And in terms of harmony, you also want to describe how the pitches are being used together simultaneously. Melodic intervals examine the distance between any two successive pitches. It has to do with the horizontal arrangement of the pitch in the music, what comes after what, and the relationship between the pitches. Melodic interval can be a simple interval or the compound interval. It's a simple interval because the interval between a pitch and the next does not exceed an octave or 8 notes, right? And you can see and so within an octave, right? But in the case of the compound interval, it is an interval beyond an octave, right? So this is, and this is, and this is, and this is. Alright, so those are compound intervals. The harmonic intervals occur between any two pitches which are sounded at the same time. The harmonic intervals can also be a simple interval or a compound interval, and again simple harmonic intervals exist between two simultaneously sounded pitches that are not more than an octave, right? And in the case of compound harmonic intervals, the two pitches are more than an octave apart, right? Let's talk about the size-based interval. You see, the distance between two pitches is measured by the number of pitches found within them, just like I said previously. Hence, we have the second, the sixth, third, ninth, eighth, unison, and so on and so forth, right? And any interval within an octave, like I said, is a simple interval why compound intervals explore other possibilities beyond an octave. Now, we want to talk about some examples of size-based melodic intervals. Okay, let's see. Now we have the simple and the compound interval. This is the scale of C major. So you see that the first one goes from C to C. The same thing on the same pitch level. Just right? And it is called the unison. The second one is second because it goes from Do to Re. That's a second because it moves to a pitch above C, right? So that's a second. The next one moves from C to E. C to E. That is Do, and it's called the third, right? And the next one, right? So you have 4 notes between them, and that's why we call it the fourth. You have 4 notes from C to F. C, D, E, F. Now let's go to the next one, from C to G. C to G. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a fifth, right? Now let's go to the next one, from C to A. There are 6 notes between them, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So C, A, and it's a sixth. Next one, the interval from C to B is a seventh, right? Because from C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Now let's go to the last one, which is from C to the upper C, and that's an octave, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you have, and that is 8, or you call it an octave, right? So those are the simple intervals. Now let's talk about some compound intervals. So when you have C to D, that's D above the octave, that is a ninth, that is an octave and a second. You see that is a compound version of simple second, right? Now let's see the second one. C to the upper E is a tenth. When you count the number of notes between the two pitches, it's 10. The tenth is an octave and a third, so it's similar to a simple third. Now let's go to the next one. You have C to the top F, right? It's 11th, and you will notice that it is an octave plus a fourth, also similar to the fourth. So the last one is from C to G. The upper G, the G above the first octave. The interval between C and the next note, which is the upper G, is a 12th, and a 12th is an octave, and a fifth is also similar to the fifth. Let's talk about the size-based harmonic intervals. Of course, we also have the simple harmonic intervals and the compound harmonic intervals, right? Okay, so in the case of simple harmonic intervals, the idea is that 2 pitches or 2 or more pitches will be sounded together in the case of harmonic intervals, right? But in this case, we're going to use just 2 pitches, right? So 2 pitches sounded at the same time here. All right, now let's check the simple harmonic intervals. C and C, right? You see that they are both on the same pitch level. In this case, for instance, you can liken it to a piece of music where you have so many instruments playing, right? The trumpeter can play the first C and the guitarist can play the second C at the same time on the same pitch level. That is what I mean here. So you have the same pitch level sounding at the same time, and that is called the unison. And in the second one, you hear the sound, right? Kind of unstable sound or a dissonance, right? So it's a second, Do, Re. And the next one, you have C and E, but they sound together. That's quite a consonance. They sound agreeably, right? So that is a third, and it is a third because you have the interval of 3 notes between them. So from C, D, E, 1, 2, 3. Right? So the next one is from C to F, right? And it sounds together. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is a fourth. Now let's talk about the next one, from C to G. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is a fifth, right? Now the next one, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. So the size between them is sixth. Now from do to B, T, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, right? So that's the seventh, and as if they are one, but it's actually do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That's the interval of 8. So from the first C to the last C, all these intervals are simple intervals because the distance between them is not more than 8 notes, right? Let's discuss some compound intervals, right? So we have the first one from C to upper D, right? So when you play them together, right? But it sounds like, oh, but the compound one, right? So that's a 9, and it's an octave plus a second. That is 8 notes and a second. Okay, now let's go to the next one, which is C plus this. So it's far beyond an octave, and you have, so that sound, that's quite a gap, right? So that's a 10th, right? And it's an octave plus a third, right? Okay, so let's go to the next one, which is from C to F. So this is harmonic interval of 11th, right? And it has an octave plus a fourth, right? An octave and a fourth. All right, so you also have this from C to G, right? So when you have both of them together, so you see that you have a whole lot of intervals there. You have as many as 12 notes or 12 pitches. So there are as many as 12 pitches apart, right? The simple one will go, and the compound fifth. When you're counting the intervals, remember you must include the first note and the last note in your counting. So you're not going to leave these two notes out in your counting, right? All right, and that is an octave plus a fifth, right? Now you have a task before you. Answer the questions and put the correct answers in the comment section, right? Now, to answer these questions, let's try to attempt them together, right? So the first task says, identify the size of the following melodic intervals. All right, just told us it's a melodic interval, and of course we're not going to talk about the specific interval, just the size. That's the number of pitch that exists between the two pitches. Also, it's very, very important to note the staff you are working with. So the first one, the exercises on the bass staff, right? I have done a video in the past bordering on music notation where I discuss the staffs and some musical signs for music notation, so you can check up the video. And we have 2 sharps, so it means the scale D major or B minor, right? So the first one from D to A, right? That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a fifth. Now the second one from D to E, right? All right, so it's just a second. And the next one from B to C sharp, that's La Ti, right? So it's also a second. Okay, now the next one from B to F sharp, right? That is La Mi, so it's a fifth, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, as if we are in B minor. Okay, now let's see the next one. So B, A, La, So, and it's a second. La, So, just 2 notes, so the size is a smaller one, right? So now let's go to the next one. We have D to A, do, ti, la, so, and that's the 4th, right? Now let's go to the second one. Identify the size of the following harmonic intervals. So in this case, you're going to hear the sound together, and of course you can pick the interval even by listening to the sound, by picking the first note and the second note and analyze them. So what's the distance, or what's the interval between them? Of course, you also want to describe it in terms of the relationship between the 2 pitches, right? And again, you also need to check for the staff. So we have the treble staff here, and it has 1 sharp, probably the scale of G major or E minor, right? So right, G to B, so G, A, B, that's the 3rd. Now the next one, from E to G, so La, Do, right? And that is a 3rd too, right? La, Ti, Do. Or you say E, F sharp, G, that's a 3rd. Alright, the next one, G and C, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, that's the 4th, right? Alright, let's go to the next one. In this case, it's also a 4th, right? Now the next one, from B to C, is a 2nd, right? We have B to C. Now the next one, from E to B, that's a 5th, right? Now from A to F sharp, Re, Ti, and that's 6th, right? So let's go to this one, G and B flat. That's a 3rd because you have 3 notes between them. So from G to D sharp, that's the 5th because you have 5 notes between them. G, A, B, C, and D sharp. Let's go to the next one, that's C to D. Dissonance, right? So it's a 2nd, right?